Hi, my name is Autif Kamal, and this is another video on logic and reasoning. This video is on contradictory propositions. Below you'll find my contact info. You can send any questions, comments, and feedback to kautif@gmail.com. You can do the same using my Skype user ID, autif.kamal, and you should check out my website, webs.logicandreasoning.com. There you'll find supplementary exercises as well as links to my other videos on logic and reasoning. There's a forum where you can leave comments and questions for the other viewers and me. There's a link to a chat room to discuss content live with the other viewers or me, either while or while not watching the videos. And there's information on when I'm available to discuss content live, and there's information on how to earn certificates. Having said all of that, we'll move on to why it's important to know how to identify and formulate contradictory propositions. Okay, so I have this picture of the sky here for a reason. I'm going to give you a personal experience that I had, and I'm going to use that personal experience to illustrate a general idea, which I think you can connect with. Okay, so I got this new job in San Francisco in Chinatown, and often when I'm waiting outside, this elderly Chinese man will pass by. I'll just say, "Hi, how are you?" and he'll say the same because I can't speak much Chinese and he can't speak much English. Also, waiting outside with me is a little girl. The elderly Chinese man is kind of friendly, so he'll talk with her. And one day he asks her this random question. He asks her, "What color is the sky?" So she says, "It's white." And then he says, "No, it's gray." And then I'm thinking in my head, well, actually, both your claims are false because you both failed to express the quantity in your propositions, making it sound like you were both making a generalization. It sounded like the elderly Chinese man was saying all of the sky is gray, and the little girl was saying all of the sky is white. And just to give you context, from where we were standing, one part of the sky was white and most of it was gray. So if I cared enough about the issue of this conversation, I would have intervened to coach the little girl on how to formulate a contradictory proposition. I would have told her, instead of saying it's white, I would have told her to say some of the sky is not gray. And by doing that, she could have refuted the elderly Chinese man. Okay, now the general idea that I think you can connect with is that at some point in your life, either in the past or the future, you did or you will have a disagreement with somebody. And there's an easy way to settle that disagreement. You identify the proposition of the other individual, you formulate a contradictory proposition, and then you prove that your proposition is true. If you prove that your proposition is true, then necessarily theirs will have to be false, which leads me to this idea. Okay, for any set of contradictory propositions, they cannot both be true or false at the same time. That means one of them must be true, and if one of them is true, the other must be false. Okay, so if you have all of the sky is gray, and some of the sky is not gray, that's a set of contradictory propositions. Notice that their terms are the same. You have of the sky, gray, of the sky, and not gray. Now it's important that instead of saying like white, as the little girl said, you say not gray, because not gray covers every possibility which is not gray. So not gray could be white, it could be blue, black, orange, or any other color. And that's a legitimate way to split an argument into one of two possibilities. Okay, also notice for the first proposition, it has a universal quantity and a positive quality. And the second proposition has a particular quantity and a negative quality. That's really easy to remember because you just have to remember that both of the propositions in a contradictory set have a different quantity and quality than each other. And there's only two types of quantities and qualities for propositions. Now look at the second set of contradictory propositions. Again, the terms stay the same. You have of the sky and gray, and again of the sky and gray. And then for the first proposition, you have a universal quantity and a negative quality. Then for the second proposition, you have a particular quantity and a positive quality. Again, the quantity and quality between those two propositions is different. And I guess it should also be noted that as well as the term staying the same, the verb stays the same. Okay, now here's an example for you to try. You're going to make two sets of contradictory propositions. You're going to use the same terms and the verb, and you're going to make the propositions universal or particular, positive or negative, as necessary. I'll give you a moment to work on that. If you need more time, you can pause the video. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the answers, which I will do right now. Okay, so I'll start with the first set. All terrorists have facial hair. Some terrorists do not have facial hair. If it's true that every single terrorist has facial hair, then it can't be that there's at least one terrorist which does not have facial hair. And likewise, if there's at least one terrorist which does not have facial hair, it can't be that every single terrorist has facial hair. And now for the second set, no terrorists have facial hair, and some terrorists have facial hair. If there is not a single terrorist that has facial hair, it can't be that there's at least one terrorist that has facial hair. And likewise, if there is at least one terrorist that has facial hair, it can't be that there is not a single terrorist that has facial hair. And now notice again, the terms stay the same, the verb stays the same, and the quantity and the quality between each set of contradictory propositions is different between each other. Okay? Now here's an idea for you to get some extended practice. If you did the suggested practice for propositions components, then you can use those same propositions. You can draw a line from one proposition to its contradictory proposition, or to a proposition which would make both of them contradictory to each other, and then you can write contradiction above the line that you drew from one to the other. Okay? Now, for the next video, I'll talk about contrary propositions. Going back to the example of the elderly Chinese man and the little girl. Now let's say we interpret the elderly Chinese man as making a generalization that all the sky is gray, and let's just pretend that the little girl didn't say it's white. She said none of the sky is gray. Now, it's important to realize that not every disagreement can be split into an all or nothing answer. Sometimes there are, pardon the pun, shades of gray. Sometimes there are answers like some of the sky is gray, or some of the sky is not gray. And by being able to identify and formulate contrary propositions as well as contradictory propositions, you'll be better able to make that distinction, so you don't make the mistake of splitting an answer into all or nothing. Okay, and that's what you have to look forward to for the next video. All right, thank you.